Welcome back everyone, John Panda here with another video. Today we're going to be going over W Corp cleanup Agent Don Quixote, my least favorite character in the game, but by far one of the strongest characters in the game. Starting off, she's got a base health of 146, well, she should be a little bit higher when she's maxed out, but she's at a base of 3 to 6 speed, so she's more on the slightly slower side because she's not 3 to 7, so 3 to 6 is pretty decent, and she's got 27 for defense. She's got normal defense to slash, ineffective to pierce, and fatal to blunt. Her first skill is Rip. It's a single coin flip with 5 with plus 6 going up to 11 potentially, and on hit inflict 1 rupture, and if heads hit you gain 2 charge. Her second skill is Leap. It's a 3 coin flip with a 4 base with plus 4, so potentially that can go all the way up to 16. And what we have here is on hit gain charge plus 4, and on her second hit also gain plus 4 charge potentially, and if her third skill hits heads it inflicts 2 fragile. Her third skill is Rip Space. It's a 1 plus 2, potentially going as low as 3, but what makes her skill really good is on use spend 10 charge count to gain plus 4 coin power, so this goes up to 6. Less than 10 charge count, lose 20% HP. So what happens here is if you have spent 10 charge, you can go up to plus 6 for your coin flip, so it's 6 times 5, so this could potentially go up to 31. So very strong skill as long as you can get 10 charge skill, but even if you don't get 10 charge skill, you can still use it as is. It's still a very strong skill. Her defense skill is pretty whatever, it's just a defense skill. Her passive though, quick recharge. Using 3 glooms at the start of the combat phase, gain charge count by gloom resource divided by 3. So potentially you can gain an extra charge here, and her support is Broken Spirit. One ally with the highest speed gains plus 1 final power for their first skill. So it's pretty decent if you can get chain 3, but more often than not you're going to be using it on your team. Very strong character. Overall, I would say she is, I wouldn't say super broken, but she is fairly strong. She would lean in between A tier, S tier. I wouldn't say she's necessarily S tier, but I wouldn't say she's necessarily A tier. She leans right in the middle of that sweet spot, I would say. Let's take her into a dungeon and showcase how she does. So we are going to be stacking the most amount of units in this fight. So we're going to try to even out the damage as evenly as possible to be able to showcase just how much damage that Don Quixote do. The thing about showcasing units like this is that right now we're using our strongest characters. We're using Faust, 3-star Faust, 3-star Ryoshu, 2-star Honglu, 3-star Heathcliff, as well as 3-star Ryoshu. So we have all these characters up. But the thing about damage is that it's going to be very skewed towards units who are faster. Don Quixote is kind of on the slower end, so she might not be able to get the damage off compared to these characters who are always guaranteed to get damage. As you can see right here, we are doing all the damage, but sometimes if the unit dies, our characters aren't going to be able to do the damage, but we'll see what happens. In this case, what we'll do is we'll just have everyone win rate. I would say Don Quixote is very comparable to our Heathcliff in the sense that our Heathcliff, his third skill does a ton of damage, albeit at the caveat of him needing to have bullets. Don Quixote is the same in the sense that she'll be able to do a ton of damage at the caveat of getting access to 10 charge. She can use Rip Space without the use of 10 charge, but number 1, it takes 20% of her max HP away whenever she casts it, and number 2, it's not as strong, so usually you're advised against using it raw, but you still can do it. It still does decent damage, but it's not as much as if you Rip Space just normally. Let's get rid of you. Spin. Alright, lovely. I will say though, in shorter fights, units such as Heathcliff is very good for short fights such as Abnormality, or even in Mirror Dungeon. Don Quixote strives better in long battles such as 2 to 3 waves fights where she has the time to be able to build up her charge. She can also make her ego easier to use in the sense that when she uses her teleport ego gives her 10 charges whenever she uses that skill. So as fight progresses and it's longer, she can eventually get to the point where she can spam out her teleport ego, which will charge her charges, so that way she can spam out rip spaces much faster. With that being said though, it really depends on how you view these characters. I would say in terms of consistent damage, 3-star Faust has more consistent damage when it comes to, oh what the heck, it wants to rip space right now? That is so strange. No, we're not gonna rip space, we're gonna do that. We want to be able to get 10 charges to do that. With that being said, Faust, 3-star Faust, 2-star Hongwu, 3-star Ryoshu is more consistent damage. Our Heathcliff is glass cannon pumping all his damage front loaded. Don Quixote, the opposite. She doesn't front load her damage. She unloads her damage in the back end of the fight. I would say, depending on what scenario you want to use her on, Don Quixote is much better in longer fights, our Heathcliff better in shorter fights. And this is one of those situations where now we're going to let it rip. We are going to rip space the back end, and you'll be able to see just how much damage she'll be able to do. The coin flips are dependent on the amount of damage she can do, and you can see right here 166 damage. 166 damage is very comparable to what our boy Bunny Heathcliff can do with his 3rd skill suppression if he wasn't stunned out. It's just one of those situations where we'll probably be able to see in the damage comparison at the end who does more damage. In this scenario, it's probably comparable, but we shall see. Loses HP, enters into the next phase. This is gonna blow up that, alright. We're gonna have everyone attack that if that's the case and finish up this fight. Here, start. So as you can see, with quick suppression, our boy would have been able to do at least 100 damage. But let's take a look at the damage charts and see how much damage our guy actually can do. So as you can see here, in terms of overall damage, our Don Quixote did the most damage, but the caveat is she did majority of that damage on that boss on that last fight. So you can see she did about 155 damage. So if you take that away from her, she is on the lower end of spectrum in terms of damage. Having that rip space available definitely made her the highest damage dealer, but as you can see, 3-star Faust is more comparable to damage to her even without having the gimmick of having to build charge up. I would say overall, Don Quixote is a little bit of a luck sack character in the sense that she has to have her charges at 10 charges for her to be able to do massive damage. Her 2nd skill is decent in terms of damage, but her 1st skill is not that good. I would say there are better units to use than W Don Quixote, only because at the moment, even if you have the teleport ego and you try to build a charge team, it isn't that strong because I've tried to make her work in a full charge team with her ego, and I can tell you that to get the amount of charges needed for her is easy, but for her to be used as a charge battery in a charge team isn't that good, or it's not as good as it could be. Overall, I would say Don Quixote is a unit that you want to use in much longer battles. Her damage is better in longer term battles, but as you can see with 3-star Faust, 3-star Faust did almost comparable damage to her without having the gimmick of needing to get charges up. Overall, I would say Don Quixote is looking like she's in the middle of S tier, A tier. If I had to pick a tier, she leans closer to the top of A tier, very bottom of S tier. Overall, very strong character, but definitely other characters that can do her job better. As usual, let me know down in the comment section down below what you guys think about her. Do you use W Don Quixote? Do you like her? Do you not like her? Do you have her on your team? Do you like her character overall? I personally don't like Don Quixote as a character because she is a manager's worst nightmare. But as a character, in terms of pure strength, I think she's pretty alright. Overall though, I don't really use her in much of the content right now, only because I use Faust, Heathcliff, and a combination of 2-star Honglu or 3-star Ryoshu to clear most of my content if it's Mirror Dungeon. I don't really use her as much anymore, only because, yeah, there's just other characters that can do what she does, but better. Anyways, that's the video. John Panio signing out. I stream on Twitch Monday to Friday, and I have a Discord community, so make sure you join that. We talk about all things Limbus as well as other gadget games. Anyways, see you guys later. Bye for now.